So I want to just, first of all, thank you, Brandon, for doing this. I want to tell everybody what my inspiration, how we've connected. I saw Brandon speak on a talk that our regional director, Michael Brand, did. He was interviewing Cecil Fielder. Great interview. I was pulled over in a parking lot at Starbucks. I could not turn away. I really loved everything that Brandon had to say, and just his whole, you know, where his head's at, and his inspiration. And he mentioned something, a company that he has called Collectable Sports, sports memorabilia, and how they could, you know, all these guys that he knows personally could sign something for a graduate. And I have to tell you, that's been such a heavy thing on my heart, that our kids who are so ingrained in sports, in college, in high school, and now they're either, you know, graduating, you know, counting on being able to play sports, or being in college and counting on being able to play sports, and now everything is stopped, and it's been killing me. And so the next day, I on an inspiration, I reached out to Brandon on Instagram. I direct messaged him, and to my surprise, I had an inspiration, and he answered me. And we started talking about how maybe I could just promote that service to my clients and to the people that I do business with. And after speaking to Brandon, now that I know Brandon a little bit more, I can see, you know, really who this gentleman is. He offered to talk to our families and our kids and our communities about, you know, everybody goes through disappointments, and things happen. The most successful people that we see up there playing sports or running sports agencies have disappointments and difficulties, and, you know, stuff happens. And we rally, and this could be the most pivotal time in your life. So I really want to thank you, Brandon. You tell your story better than anybody, but I'd love for you to tell everybody what you do, what you're involved in now, and then what you have to say about that. I was very inspired by you. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you. Hey, everybody, what's happening? I know, you know, I missed your graduation, and I feel bad about that. Not that bad, actually, because at the end of the day, it's an amazing opportunity that you have. You got some amazing things that are about to happen for you that will make up for this loss. And sometimes some of the best things that happen to you come after a loss, and come after some difficult things. So listen, I'm in a complete entrepreneurial state myself. I just started 2 new companies literally 6 months ago. And then, you know, this virus hit, and, you know, all of a sudden you got to pivot, you got to change direction, you got to do some things a little differently. And no better time to start, you know, than now. So your mission, well, anyway, your circumstances have changed, but your mission should stay the same, which is, you know, to find a high quality opportunity that you can learn and grow. And that's the name of the game. So yeah, there's some parts of the job market that are really terrible right now, but there's some amazing parts of the job market that are booming. And I always say fish where the fish are. So if I'm graduating, what do I do today? I make a list, you know, I reset. You know, you got your hopes and dreams and all these things you thought you were going to do, but the circumstances have changed. A friend of mine, Frank Bisganato, always tells me that when the circumstances change, you got to change direction, but it doesn't mean that you failed. It just means that you pivoted. So you got to make a list, first of all. And you do this, by the way, since you've been in junior high school. You know, you made a list of the guys or the girls you want to go to prom with, and you targeted it, and you try to figure out, you know, who most likely to be a fit. And then you started working friends. You started working people that knew that girl or the guy that you wanted to go to the prom with. And you thought about the schools you wanted to go to, the colleges. And you thought about, oh, who do I know that maybe went to that school? Who do I know had some influence at that school? You know, how can my parents help? How can uncles, cousins help? And that's how you want to get going today, which is start thinking about the new list. Because kids come to me all the time, it's like they're looking for a job. I'm not an employment office. So people that you know, going to them with some vague, you know, I'm looking for a job, I don't really care. So I want, you know, to get what you want, you got to know what you want. So it's important that you get a little bit more into some targeting and to some focusing. It's like, you know, I'd be making breakfast for my kids, and I'd yell, yeah, come on down. You know, what do you want for breakfast? And like, I don't know. Well, I'm making breakfast. What do you want? Do you want eggs, pancakes, French toast? So at the end, you know, listen, everybody wants this, everybody wants that. But realistically speaking, there are a lot of great companies out there that are booming. There are a lot of companies out there that are about to boom. You know, Amazon's up. You talk about, the restaurant business. There's a lot of parts of the restaurant business that are doing incredibly well. A lot of takeout, fast food businesses that are doing incredibly well. Domino's, Pizza Hut. So, they're all management opportunities and good opportunities there. CVS booming, Walmart booming, a lot of online tech companies booming, pharmaceutical companies booming. And there's all companies that need marketing and ultimately will need sports marketing. And that's the thing. It's like, so maybe you don't get a job for the Yankees tomorrow because that season seems like it's going to be a little bit different. But it doesn't mean that some pharmaceutical company that you go do marketing for may want to do a sponsorship with the Yankees. So you can always pivot to that. Your initial opportunity when you come out of school should always be to really learn how to become great at something. Because when you're extraordinary at something, then the doors open up. You could do a lot of things. So my first message, my first rule of thumb is it doesn't really matter where you're at. It doesn't. What matters is what you're willing to accept. If you want to sit home, feel bad for yourself, sitting on the couch, watching the news all day and know that there's a virus going on, so woe's you, then so be it. We'll pick you up somewhere in the fall. But if you really want to get going, there are plenty of opportunities to do so. You just have to have a high level of non-acceptance and realize that you're going to have to pivot. There are cities also. When we talk about targeting, talking about making a list of your favorite company, favorite products, favorite services that you always would like to work for and see if any of those match up with booming and uplifting companies. But also think about the cities you want to work at. Cities like Seattle, Portland, Charlotte, Austin are all cities that are booming. So I see a lot of kids who will come to me and they're like, they want to do this, they want to do that. Well, how bad do you want it? Because it may not be right here, maybe in the Mecca, New York City or Chicago or LA, but it may be an opportunity in Portland, or there may be an opportunity in one of those up and coming markets that are booming. So are you willing to move out of your nice little comfortable hometown and go get it? One of the things I talked about is there's so much growth in international sports. Are you willing to move to another country? That's something to think about. I don't think that's probably not the right thing now, probably to go to another country, but it's something to think about in your short-term goals when things kind of get leveled out and things calm down. There's tremendous opportunities in international sports with the Olympics, certainly soccer, Premier Soccer. All those countries that are booming with it, whether it be cricket or soccer, definitely need a lot more marketing and all kinds of business to catch up to what American sports are doing. Just something to think about. So the question is, you're targeting your company. So when you go and ask a Brandon Steiner, can you help me? I'm looking for a job, and I don't even know where to begin. It's like somebody saying, can you help me? I need a car. Well, what kind of car? What's your situation? Do you have kids? Do you need a place to put your golf clubs in? What's the value proposition that you're looking for? Because when you figure out the company and you come up with a list of really dream job companies that you'd love to work for, the next thing you do is you start Googling those companies. So you make sure you do a Google alert that every time something comes up with one of those companies, you know about it. You get that article. You get that information. You have to be an expert at those companies that you may be trying to get in. And it may not be, listen, you don't need to be 5 for 5 or 10 for 10. You could be 1 for 50. But I'm not into throwing stuff against the wall and hoping one shoe fits. You want to target, you want to find those dream companies. You want to find companies that are on the up, that at least are a startup, they're looking optimistic, or companies that are booming. And then once you do that, you start looking at key decision makers in the area at those companies, because that's when you go and see a Brandon Steiner, or you go to your parents, you go to an uncle, which I'll talk about in a minute, and say, by the way, do you know anybody at the Collectable Exchange? That's a new company Brandon Steiner started. Do you know anybody there? Oh, you do. So you're asking something about a specific company, and then you're asking about a specific person. Most of the time, you have a dream job. You want to work for Coca-Cola. You want to work for IMG, Learfield, all these different companies. But do you know the people that work there? Do you know the senior people that are running the joint? Are you following them to see where the growth is and the new things that they're doing? Because all that information is available on their social media with a click and a pick. So don't be lazy. Get your target group of companies you want to work for. Create a sub-target list of the key decision makers, the women and men that are running those companies. And start thinking about the cities that those companies maybe have offices in, because maybe you're going to be flexible because you really want it. You'll do whatever it takes. You'll move to one of those cities if it needs be. Or are you going to suck it up and fight for the fight to stay in the city you're in? But you may have to bartend. You may have to busboy. You may have to work 2 jobs. I'm working 2 jobs. I just started 2 new companies. You know, I was a CEO of a big company a year ago. Now I'm working 2 companies. I'm shipping, I'm packing, I'm calling people, I'm delivering products. I'm going to the UPS store. I mean, I'm doing whatever it takes. You want to open up a company? All right, it's what it takes. It's hard. Finding a job is not something you put on your to-do list. Finding a job is part of like life. You're always looking for work. You're always looking for the next opportunity. Sometimes you're doing it for your company that you're in. Sometimes you're doing it for yourself. But you should always be looking for opportunity. It's something you actually want to be good at. So again, if I ask most of you that are on this call, do you know what the person who lives next door to you, do you know what they do? You know that restaurant you go to all the time? Like, have you told them what you do? You know the person who cuts your hair? Do they know what you do? Because I can't imagine how many heads are in the chair, and who knows who else's hair they're cutting, right? The gardener that comes and cuts your parents' lawn, do they know what you do? Because I'm sure they cut some other lawns, and it could be the CEO of a company that you may be actually looking to work for. And imagine if the gardener can make that connection. Because you never want to mess up the gardener, because if he messes up, the gardener messes up, we all know we're going to be in trouble with our wives. So, it's, my wife takes care of all the gardening, everything, and nobody messes with the gardener. Because a critical person is that's our whole thing. So, you got to make sure that, I always say, win if you can, lose if you must. If not, always cheat. Don't lie. Don't steal. Don't do anything illegal. Cheating is making sure you have every bit of leverage and you're using all the assets, all the opportunities. Take advantage of your advantages, which are all the people that know you. You think the neighbor across the street, do you even know what he or she does? You don't think that he or she has watched you crawl out of a crib, doesn't want to maybe help you? Of course. But you don't even take 5 minutes. You're so busy trying to figure out how to network instead of maybe walking across the street and introduce yourself to your neighbor.
So Brandon, let me ask you a question, or make a statement. So this is very specific to how we met. And also I want you to tell us about how you got started. I know the story, but limiting beliefs. So had I realized what a big shot you were, I would never have had the nerve to reach out to you and ask you to do this. Luckily, I didn't look you up and see all, the big companies that you've run and what you've started from nothing and the amazing things you've done in your career and the challenges you've had. I would probably never have picked up the phone, but I was inspired by what you had to say and who you were. And I have that, this is killing me about our kids. So I did not have a limiting belief. I just took a shot. You answered, and you being you, could not have been more gracious. You could have just said, yeah, have them go onto the site and buy something. You've never said that, actually. I'm the one who said, that would be a great idea. But so not having limiting beliefs, I know you that you started from nothing as a kid. Do you want to tell the story about, how you got started and just,
Well, the first thing I want to say is, my mom, whose favorite line was, "You got to have balls," which you could pick up my book on my website. Any of the 3 books I've written are free through the end of the weekend. So first of all of you, and I'm still a dog without a bone. I mean, I know nothing. I'm still learning. So I'm still, if you see behind me, there's no shortage of books. And I'm not even a reader. This is my office at home. I want to tell you about my office. My other office has got a whole bunch more books. And I'm not even a reader. But readers are leaders and learners are earners. At the end of the day, you got to be in a complete learning state. My mom always said, you got to have balls, but if not you, then who? And she was right. Like, call Brandon Steiner. Who's Brandon Steiner? The reality is that there's what we do, but we're all, listen, most people realize that there's no difference between all of us. We're all equal, and we are on this earth to help each other. Some people forget that, and they're caught up with their status and their titles, but you'd be surprised. There are a lot of good people out there that will help you, that will give you guidance, that will give you some direction. But half the time, you could talk yourself into your dreams, and you could talk yourself right out of them. That voice, see, the voice that says, Brandon, don't make that call. He's a big shot. He's a big deal. That voice, I took all the voting privileges away from that voice. I shut that voice down a long time ago. It wasn't behaving. It was telling me all kinds of crazy stuff about what schools I can get into. Then it was telling me about the type of jobs I could and couldn't get. I fired that voice. It's basically been in a like a timeout for about 40 years now. So it really has retired early age. And you got to be careful about that voice, because the things that you do talk to yourself about, and we all do that, you can really put yourself in a position which is not good, which is why it's so important to surround yourself with people that are optimistic, that know the way you are, that will tell you the truth and support you, which is critical. I really try to avoid keeping people around me that don't appreciate who I am or what I do, and aren't going to be optimistic for me and with me. And you should think about who you're hanging out with too, because that's a big part, especially when you're going through a transitional phase. I was going to look for this book. Oh, here it is. I'm just reading this book called Transitions. I don't know if you can see that, but transitions are hard, man. And then the first thing you got to realize is life is hard and transitions are hard. If you graduate in college, you're going through a transition. Yeah, party's over. And you know something? It's been a good party. And you'll soon realize how good a party it was as you get older. But the reality of it is, it's traumatizing. It's tough. From waking up, going to a couple of classes, studying, hitting a frat party, a couple of parties, a couple more parties, a couple more parties. I get it. But, transitions are hard, and you got to go back. I love this book, by the way, because transitions really are about a pause in time and realizing where you've been, closing up those issues, and getting yourself ready for the next phase, which is waking up really early, working till you're really late. Whatever job you do is probably not going to be good enough, or certainly not going to be enough. There's so much to learn, and you're going to get pushed, and you're going to feel a lot more pressure. You got to put food on the table. You got to support yourself. You got to try to figure out where your career is. One day you have hopes and dreams of having a family. Those are a lot of things that will weigh on you. But at the end of the day, those are the things that are going to push you. So I say, make the list of all those things. If you're feeling some pressure, you're feeling some anxiety, good. I'm glad, because we can adapt. You can adapt. You will adjust. The good Lord's not going to leave you on the side of the street after getting a degree and a nice college education, say, that's it. That person's done. What's funny is when I graduated school, I applied to over 150 jobs, and I got 0 job offers until somewhere in the middle of August. I did think the good Lord had left me behind. I didn't think I was going to amount to anything. I was getting ready to start bagging groceries. So, the self-doubt can kill you, but you never know when your life is going to turn around. And I think the persistence and being resilient is really underestimated. Yeah, it's important to be smart and have a lot of energy. It's important to do well in school, although no one's ever asked for my GPA average. No one's ever asked me, you're killing yourself for these A's and B's. What's important is not what grades you got, but it's the learning and experiences that you got, and understanding what you learned in school that you can carry over. And hopefully now it's time to really start learning. I think college was to teach you how to learn. It was to create, a collaboration and learn how to get together in groups and function in groups and learn some of the fundamentals, important stuff in business or whatever you had studied. But the real learning really happens now. And that's one of the most important things I want to mention, is that I really feel the first couple of jobs out of school should be like graduate school. Those should be careers where you pick not only a company, but a person that you feel you can learn from, that's going to teach you. And the money really is irrelevant. I mean, it always matters, but what really matters is what's going to happen after you work for that company for 2-3 years. That experience, along with your education, what is that going to amount to? So even when I got out of school, I took a job for $12,500 with an accounting degree. Usually those jobs are going for around $17,000 or $18,000. And I took less money because I felt, and I worked for a really big company, Hyatt Hotels, which is a tough company. But I knew after working for them, the management experience, which is what I wanted, was going to put me in a position to make $25,000 or $30,000. And I saw the growth, and I knew if I experienced that, and exactly what happened. So sometimes setting up your plan is very helpful. The most important thing I want to emphasize, and I want to do a little Q&A, is tell you a little story about when I was, and it is a 2-part lesson here, which is, I think, the most valuable thing in getting your career started. It first starts when I was 10. I was in Mel Kerper's class in the 5th grade, and I got called to the front of the class. And he gave me an envelope of money. I said, what's this for? He says, well, this is for clothes. I said, how do you know I need clothes? He said, well, you've been wearing the same pants for 3 weeks in a row. I said, how do you know I've been wearing the same pants? He goes, your knee is ripped. I go home, I'm completely, I'm upset. When you're 10, you don't realize whether you're poor or rich. You just know what you know. How the hell do I know what having money is or whatever? And, I went to go see my mom about it. She said, oh, you're in between sizes. Of course I was going to get you clothes. So about 3 hours later, I was thinking about it. And I was like, doesn't make sense. I said, Mom, on Saturday morning, I was 10, I'm going to wake up I will go and find a job. Now, in Brooklyn, Kings Highway is this long highway of retail stores, several miles long. And I figured, again, acceptance. I'm not accepting this. I'm not accepting being this poor. I'm not accepting dressing like this. So I go out on Saturday morning. I have young kids, and I have kids. Like, nobody's getting up at 10 on their own, dressing, eating. I'm dressing, eating. I'm out crack of dawn. I'm looking up and down the streets for a job, and I'm not coming home until I get one. And I got a job with Freddie the Fruit Man. And I was delivering fruit and vegetables and stocking fruit and vegetables. Now, I think 10 is a little early, probably get your arms around that. But for some people, it doesn't happen for quite a while. But what's important about that story and how I hope it relates to all of you is that you must draw a line in the sand and become accountable. You cannot use what's happened to you. You know, my dad died at an early age. Things have been tough. My mother was raising us 3 children on her own. You cannot use excuses that have happened in the past to dictate your future. And we all do that. There has to be a point in time in your life where you need to draw the line in the sand and be accountable for what you're about to do, what you want to do, and not use excuses of what's happened previously for what's about to happen in the future. So I ask all of you is like, if you want to move forward, what's your level of acceptance? Are you willing to accept living back in your parents' house? Are you willing to accept just, the virus, or are you going to do something about it? Which could mean, if you can't find a real job, just doing whatever it takes to get busy and start working, because you never know where one opportunity will lead to another. So at 10 years old, I'm accountable. I'm never waking up in the morning thinking about how I'm going to make money. I've been doing it since I'm 10 years old, hustling, looking down every street, trying to figure out an opportunity of how I can maybe make some money. So think about that. It starts with a level of non-acceptance, and then you go do something about it because your mind is so dead set. And you think about the stuff you've had a high level of non-acceptance on, a relationship, a friendship, a class you were taking, whatever it is, and then you do something about it, nobody can stop you. I go see my mom 2 years later, and I tell her that I need a career change. She's like, "You're 12. Are you crazy?" I'm like, "Yeah." And this is probably the most important lesson I could probably teach you today, and that is value. My mom tells me, "I understand you want to hang out in the afternoons. The fruit and vegetable thing is probably tying up your Saturdays. Go get a paper route." So I go get the paper route, and a sign in the window is about to change my life. It says, "Whoever opens up the most routes this month wins a box of candy bars." Now, in my house, winning a box of candy bars would be comparable to winning the lottery for several $1,000,000 today, if I came home with that. So I was focused. And literally, if you knew me as a kid, and it was, I was a weird kid, obviously a little bit different in the neighborhood. I mean, I'm out hustling, trying to figure out. And I'm telling you, I'm knocking on doors at 9, 10, 11 at night. It's not an exaggeration, because in Brooklyn, you had these big apartment buildings. So I'm knocking on doors and I got nothing. I knock on this lady's door, and then she's an older woman. I said, "Ma'am, would you get the paper delivered?" "Absolutely not." I said, "But you got a stack of papers in there." She says, "No, we got something. I get it from the corner store." I said, "Ma'am, it's the same price, 8 cents, me or the corner store." "See, yeah, but then I got to tip you." So I go home and I tell my mom this. Of course, being a normal 12-year-old, I said, "We got to move out of this neighborhood. The people are cheap. This is a lousy neighborhood. The people they're a bunch of skunks. They're no good. This neighborhood, the excuses." And my mother says, sit down now. I'm going to tell you something. I'll tell you something once, and I'm only going to tell you once. You can't expect to sell something that other people are selling the same thing. You have to differentiate yourself. And the other thing is, you must stop selling. Stop selling. It's like, what? You need to start serving and solving. You need to be a solution-based business person. When you want to do business with someone, go to them with a solution for their problem, and they'll figure out how you can do business together. Now, at 12 years old, that was a lot to handle. So I went back knocking on doors and being relentless and kind of ignored my mother for the most part, until I was just so desperate. I mean, after 4 days and nights knocking on doors, I had nothing to show for myself. I went back at 11 at night to knock on this woman's door. And she thought there was a fire, there was an emergency, something. And she's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" I said, "Ma'am, just give me a minute." "Oh, it's you again? I told you I don't want the paper." I said, "If it's torrential downpour, blizzard, snowstorm, heat wave, ice on the ground, women such as yourself should not be out trying to worry about getting the paper. If I bring you milk and bagels every Wednesday and Sunday, and the paper every day by 7:30 a.m., you have all bad weather, you need something, you call me, I'll pick up some coffee, I'll pick up bagels, some bread, whatever you need. You would do that for me?" I said, "I was concerned. I was thinking about you." Well, sure enough, this woman, I didn't know this, but this woman was the mayor of the neighborhood. And I went from 29 dailies to 199 dailies, and I blew up. Now, the most important part of that story for those of you that are listening is that, first of all, if you are in business, the most important thing is not about what you're selling. It's about how the people that you're selling to need to receive things. You must be a great listener. Most people think that getting into sales is about talking, but being a great listener and understanding what people really need. And we call that value proposition. But what I want to tell all of you and why you have such a great opportunity ahead of you, if you just graduated, is value. You must think of yourself and what value you can provide. That's what gets people's attention. That's what makes people want to hire you. What's your value? And value is what you could do for someone that they can't do for themselves. And being a younger person, there's a lot of things that you can do that a lot of older people cannot do. And you can do a lot of things right now that companies and businesses are in desperate need more of. Web, digital, IT, all kinds of app implementation, development. There's so much opportunity for young people coming out of school, even for mentorships. You know, young kids coming out of school looking for mentors. Older people like me are looking for mentors, kids to show them how to work the computers, learn how to work the apps and all the different things. It's amazing what a kid coming out of school today, what most of you that are watching can do. And you must recognize and take inventory of your own value in order to understand that if you don't appreciate your value, no one else will. So it's really critical that you understand value, that you listen to people and understand what they're looking for. When you go for an interview, it's not all about your value, but it's understanding how to present that value to the person who's hiring, so you know how to basically become attractive to that person. That lady no way wanted the paper, but when I offered the milk, I offered her bagels, and I offered the fact that there's going to be some bad weather, but a young kid like me can go out and bring her those things, the paper became very attractive. So value proposition is very effective, particularly when you're looking for a job. When you think about the athletes that I've been able to work with and hire over the course of the years, from the Jeters, Marianos, the Mannings, Muhammad Ali's, it always came down to value proposition. And I'll cap this thing by saying this. When you meet somebody successful, when you get an opportunity to know someone that's really wealthy or successful through your parents or through your own know-how, most people think about what they can get from that person. Think about what value you can provide and what you can give. Your first thought anytime entering into a relationship, what value can I give? When you go online and see this big company opportunity and you're looking to hire somebody, which would then give you a job and help you make a salary, think about what value you can give that company, what you can give them, and continually think about what value you can give them, whether it be your boyfriend, girlfriend, your parents, any relationship you have. Think about what value you provide. And if it's not much, it's probably a relationship that's running thin or probably going to be running out. I got a little rant there. Let's go. I'm ready to go find some work right now. Let's go. By the way, I've been looking for work for 50 years. I'm still looking for work. I was
Thank God, right?
This morning thinking about some companies that needed my services. I get fired up. Let's go.
I was taking notes. I was taking notes while you were talking. You were inspiring me this morning. Also, when you were talking about all the guys, I want your phone. I want to know all those guys that are in your phone. You're like, hold on. I'm talking to Boone here. I'm like, the other day was Mariano. I'm like, oh. So,
but you know something, at the end, you know, it's great to talk to athletes on a regular basis and all that, but what value are you providing? What are you doing for them?
That's right.
You got to be able to do something for them. Who wants to talk to somebody who can't do anything?
Right.
So, you know, it's really important that whatever you decide to do, you don't want to just, I never wanted to be successful. You don't want to just be good at something. I mean, success could have been just waking up and getting out of bed in the morning, but I always wanted to be extraordinary. I always was shooting for being the best at something. Because when you're extraordinary, the best at something, it's amazing how many other doors open up and people will be attracted to you. But it takes a tremendous effort to become an expert and to be really, really good at something. And you got to put the time in. That's not an overnight game. But that's the thing, ultimately down the road, when you become really good at something because you learn from some people that are really good, that's how you become extraordinary. Whether you're going to be a broker, whether you're going to work down on Wall Street, whether you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, you want to be the best lawyer because it's nothing like, oh, I know the best doctor. I know this doctor is the best of the best. That's the person you want to see.
Right.
I know this grocery store that's got the best fruit and vegetables, the best of the best. If you don't really want the best of the best, it may cost you a little bit more, but it's the best. Those are the ones you remember. You remember the restaurant that's the best of the best.
Right.
You don't remember the middle ones. So if you want to have a legacy, you want to be significant, now's the time when you got to start working on that, because there's a tremendous amount of learning and work you got to put towards that. And the type of jobs you get should always be, first and foremost, learning and development experiences. The people that are going to develop you and teach you something.
So it was evident when I first listened to you, you were interviewing Cecil Fielder on that call with Michael Brand, and you had such a great way of bringing him around to the story where he was, and you know, talking about all these great memories and everything. But it was very, very clear that you cared about these guys. You knew a lot about their careers, their lives, their kids, where they're at, what they're doing next. So obviously, everything you're telling these kids and telling us is what you do. It was what struck me about you. And I mean, it was really, I mean, anybody can just drop names, but you knew these guys intimately and spoke about it. And, you know, I was just really, really very moved by it. Thank you. So I'm thrilled. I mean, we've spent.
Yeah, it takes time. I mean, it's a process, you know, to get to there. But, you know, again, it starts with value. If you're a value adder, you're somebody looking to add value. And also, most importantly, if you're a problem solver.
Right.
There's nothing better than when, you know, somebody who helps you solve problems. Oh, I can help you with that. Oh, I'll do that for you. I mean, that's a very key ingredient to put into your diet every day. You know, I can help
Kind of like
somebody.
what we're doing here. I mean, in real estate,
Yeah.
I'm not able to do open houses. I'm not able to do a lot of things. But for Keller Williams, Michael Brand, you and I connect. There's, you know, there's always a way to pivot and be still excited and thrilled about what we're doing, and find another way. And we're obviously, you know, you've made quite a pivot. We've made quite a pivot, and we're all here today making another
There's
way.
nothing that would make me more exciting than somebody watching this. And I hope we can do some Q&A. I hope you guys are asking some questions. But, you know, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you know, Brian, I was listening to that video and I finally got up off my ass and I realized I was wasting my time. And you made some sense. You made a couple points. I made the list and I started targeting what I was looking for. I started asking the people I knew the best, if they knew anybody. And I made a connection. I've been with this company and now I'm the executive VP. You know, you have to have joy. You know, helping people is not a burden. It's an opportunity that will lead you to share joy. And, you know, I'm doing this today. I'm busy today, but I know that, you know, there are 40 or 50 people on this call, and I know maybe I can make a slight difference here in a couple of your lives. And you got to realize that's part of the joy, you know, having faith and helping people. It's not all just a number crunching. It's not all just a money grab. Helping people is a great opportunity that also brings a lot of joy. It's a lot of fun, and it's something you want to be in the habit of, even at a young age. You may say, I don't have a lot of money, I don't have a lot of this, but it doesn't matter. You know, it's giving up some of your time or helping somebody smile, helping somebody across the street. All of that counts. And that's where you want to be. That's where you want to get the muscle and mental memory going.
I agree. Yeah. Thank you. So you're doing your podcast. I listened to your podcast the other day, which was great. What is that called? The name of the podcast?
Well, there's a Project X podcast. We're about to launch a new podcast, which will be a couple times a week. Just a whole sports show, which will talk about collectibles, what's it worth, interviewing players, and I'm going to do it online. I just decided, like, you know, I think when you do something well, and I've had some good success, and I've been lucky, like, I think you should really always just want to really do what makes you happy, what you're having fun doing. And that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to do stuff that I'm enjoying, that I'm having fun doing. So, you know, I've always loved the radio. I've had 2 radio shows, one on Sirius, I went on ESPN, and then back when I was in the 90s, I did a sports business show before sports business was sports business. And I just feel like I really love the radio. I love the interaction, the back and forth. I love the callers and you know, what you can learn from them because they're so emotional and fanatical. So I'm going to start that. And a big part of that show will be kind of like an online, what's it worth, and also kind of a collectible show, which doesn't really exist. So I'm excited about kicking that off in the next couple of weeks.
We have a name
Man
for
Cave
that?
Millionaires is the name of the show. Man Cave Millionaires is the collectible show.
Man
and then
Cave
you'll see it launch. If you go to my Facebook or LinkedIn, we'll be launching in the next couple of weeks. And then the sports show, we haven't come up with a name yet, but I have 250 pods that you can go get to if you're looking to get better at any particular part of your life. I mean, I've interviewed so many different people, and the pods are right on my BrandonSteiner.com.
So we're putting the links to the podcast. There's free books. Anybody who logs into Collectable Exchange, they can get a free book this week, which is great. I ordered them on Amazon. I should have waited. I've listened to the podcast, which I was really, really impressed with. And Collectable Exchange, before we wrap it up, I know you've got to stop. We've got 2 more minutes. Collectable Exchange, that was what inspired the whole conversation. But I thought, what a great idea. How many, I'm folks can't have the graduation party, the kids aren't going to the Jersey Shore or whatever they normally would have done, having something that I could have ordered for my son, or one of my kids, any of my kids, that, specifically, to Alex from Mariana Rivera or whatever it is. I thought that was really very cool. So how can they do that?
Well, you know what's funny is like 3 months ago, I was like, starting this company was a bear. It was tough. And now with the virus going on, everyone's been home. And what are they doing? They're going through their closets, their basements. They're putting a ton of stuff up on Collectible Exchange. There's over 45,000 items on Collectible Exchange. So the goal of Collectible Exchange is for people to be able to buy and sell stuff as they wish. And what's crazy is I want people to be able to get proprietary stuff, unusual, unique things, not just a typical item that maybe a player signed, but everybody's got these unusual things in their man caves and in their basements and offices. And with the virus, everybody's been going through their closets and everything. So that's been amazing. And when you go to Collectible Exchange, just give it a look. I mean, it's from a Babe Ruth card to just every last all kinds of crazy stuff. And what I love is that just creating an open market for so many of my fans and customers over the last 30 years that used to be with Steiner, and now they're sliding over to Collectible Exchange. And they're more be able to freewheeling of what they could buy, but we help them get what they need also if something comes up. So it's very exciting. And then the Steiner agency I've been just really getting companies to hire players to push their business and help them grow. But also I've been getting athletes to invest in businesses. You become board of directors. There's a lot of opportunities now. Athletes have changed a lot over the last 20 years, and they're much more influential. They're much more buttoned up. They're much more professional. And they're a big asset to a company. So you can hire them, and they could do a good job to moving the needle. You may want to invest with them, or they may want to invest with you, and they're business people. And they've got a lot of good assets to bring to a company to drive it. So I've been trying to make those matches, finding the right athletes for the right companies. And that's kind of going back to my roots. That's kind of what I was doing back in the mid-'80s. So it's kind of fun to go back to that, because as you got bigger, I kind of got a little bit away from that. And I still enjoy calling up players and trying to help them figure stuff out. I answer everything, by the way. If you're out there, you got a question, if you got to follow me on LinkedIn, because I'm over my connections. But any message on LinkedIn or all my messages on Facebook, I answer them all personally. I spend at least an hour and a half on my social a day. Not bad for a 60-year-old. I put all the personal notes. I used to send out notes and handwritten notes. I still do, because I believe in that. And I think that's a nice touch if you're looking to get your first job. Handwritten notes go a long way. I'm a big fan of them. And especially when you write them creatively and use a different kind of marker. In my office, I have about 200-300 markers and 50 different shades of colors and papers and everything, and maybe 300 or 400 Greek cards that I can use. So, that old school still wins a lot of friends and influences people. So, but I answer everything. So if you've got a question, you're trying to find your way into a job, you'd be surprised. I randomly pick people, and I will help you with your job hunt. So I randomly pick kids out all the time and help them with their job hunt. And I show them how to get their foot in the door. And there are many ways to do it. And I kind of have fun going on the hunt with you. I know, listen, finding a job is a job. It really is. So, schedule it, say I'm looking for a job during these hours, and don't stop, because there's a lot of work in researching and looking and trying to figure out your way when you get, especially trying to get your first one. But if you put the time and energy in, believe me, things are going to be changing, and things are going to be looking really, really good, especially for kids that are graduating school right now. I'm very optimistic for you.
Brandon, we do have a question from Benjamin. He says, with the virus impacting sports around the world, do you foresee more internship opportunities or minimum wage jobs for students and post-grads?
First of all, it's a good name, Benjamin. I like that. That's my new nickname on the basketball court, Benjamin Buttons, by the way. I tell my friends to call me Benjamin, so I'm reversing myself in the time. If you haven't seen that movie, it's a good one. But to answer your question, I think there'll be a lot less internships. But something, everybody gets caught up in these big internships. Like, go wait some tables. Go deliver some food. Serve people. You don't have to have, every internship doesn't have to be at this unbelievably big company. Roll up your sleeves, put on your gloves, put on your mask, and go work. Shovel some snow, cut some grass, meet some people. You can't put a price tag on the relationships you can meet when you go out there and start hustling. Become a golf, caddy. How many people you can meet on a golf course? This kid told me, well, I'm not sure I'm going to get a job in sports. I'm going to take a job as a caddy over the summer. I'm like, I don't know. I'm feeling like that you're very negative about that. Like, first of all, Do you have any idea who you can meet on a golf course? You only need to be one person. You better put on, you better turn up your energy, son, because that could be a great opportunity. So, listen, all the hype and whatever, of course you'd love to work for the NFL. Of course you'd love to work for the NBA as an intern. And those are great opportunities, but there are going to be less. Sports is pulling back. Going into offices are going to be pulled back. But don't be afraid to just go work. And there's tremendous amount of work, by the way, available in warehouses. You see web businesses dramatically up, the Amazons, the Walmarts, and many other web companies. Don't be afraid to go into a warehouse, because more than likely a company you're going to run one day or work at is probably going to have some kind of distribution. And having put some time into a warehouse is not a bad idea. I've worked a few hours and a few weeks and a few months in some warehouses. And, I've had a warehouse at Steiner for 30 years. So those kinds of experiences, don't go, walk away empty-handed with it. Don't be afraid to go do some normal manual labor and get into the work environment, see what that's like. It's not a bad thing.
I love it. Good question. Thank you, Brandon.
Great question. Great question. Don't get caught up in the hype. I always say your best opportunity to get advice is from your parents. You trust them. They're going to always look out for you the best. But it doesn't mean you can always do what they want you to do, but you could try. But I think going out and earning some honest to goodness money and working hard to carry your weight matters, because you didn't find the ultimate job doesn't give you an excuse to sit home and eat their food, not pay rent, and do nothing. You can't feel good about that. So, whether you're going to go work a full-time 60 hours in a warehouse, maybe not, but going to put in 20, 30 hours in a warehouse, maybe earning some money, because those employees get paid pretty well now, while you're looking for that ultimate job, shows you have respect for yourself, that you're not just carrying and looking for a free ride. I respect that. And believe me, it look good on your resume. To traveling all over the world and having all these great companies on your resume, it's okay. I look for kids when I'm trying to hire them that's actually worked and figured out how to make $1, shoveling some snow in the winter, taking out some garbage, mowing some lawn, busboying in some restaurants till 3 a.m. I respect that. That's somebody who I know is not going to be afraid to get their hands dirty. Don't run away from those opportunities if you can't figure out how to get your dream job, or get up off your ass, pack your car up and go to Seattle, Portland, Charlotte, Austin, because there's some good opportunities there. Oh, is that inconvenient? Oh, you don't really want to move? You don't really want your dream job? Oh, okay, I get it. But you got to decide how much you want it. What's your level of non-acceptance? Where's your head? Or you want to do whatever it takes? Because once you get into high level of non-acceptance, like my teacher giving me that envelope of money, or you want to go up and down Kings Highway and take whatever job you get, just so you can make sure you have some clothes and food to eat.
At 10.
We have 2 more questions if there's time.
There's time.
There's time. There's always time.
Reading them. They're so good.
So James says, what are your hopes for the Steiner agency?
Hopes. Hope is for when I go to synagogue, when I go to church. Hope is not a plan. Forget about hoping. My strategy, and by the way, there's no reason for you ever to be stressed. If you're confident in your ability and you're confident in your strategy, which is why most of you are stressed, because you don't have a strategy, because you're not using every possible asset to help you win, right? And then you're confident in God. You have to have faith. But when you're confident in God, you're confident in your ability, you're confident in your strategy, there's no reason for you to be nervous. So my strategy for the Steiner agency is to continue to help companies all over the country using players to grow their business. I'm a celebrity marketer. It's not a full service sports marketing firm. We do some event marketing. We do some outright PR/sports marketing, using PR as a vehicle to hire a spokesman to maybe promote a product through PR with some PR firms. But at the end of the day, my strategy is to get to know as many players as I can and help them and match them up with companies that they love. If I know a player loves Tropicana orange juice, I want to get to the product manager of Tropicana orange juice, and I want to see how I can make a match, because I know he's going to love, or she's going to love, working with Tropicana. So my plan for the Steiner agency is to become one of the better talent marketing agencies that help companies grow, and at the same time finding players the right match with a company.
I love it.
That's awesome.
It's doing pretty well. We started that company last summer. We're doing pretty well.
Mark says, good to see you again. This time virtually, he says. It's one thing to scramble to grow your business by spreading the word, but even better when your customers and the players you've signed can do it for you. Would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, you got to earn that. I mean, players aren't walking around, they don't exist to help you promote and exist. You exist to promote them and have them exist even better and more so. So by doing good quality work, two things that travel fast, good news and bad news. And even faster, good work and bad work. When you do good work and you do creative work, not just wait for the phone to ring, but when you're marketing your players and you're calling them up and you're coming up with good ideas for them, whether they like it or not, people appreciate when you call them. It's kind of a gift of giving when you have a suggestion that makes sense. If there was a friend that was a girl and she was single and she really wanted to meet a guy to get married, like going to her and telling her to go to some singles dance or whatever. But if I came to her with a really intelligent idea, she appreciated that, whether it worked or not. Oh, something while Brandon could have been thinking about his own stuff, he was worrying about me meeting some guy. I told her to get a job at Nordstrom's in the shoe department, the men's shoe department, because that's how she's going to meet the most amount of guys. And yeah, you got to go put the shoes on. You make some good money, but you'd be surprised. Some guy who comes in the shoe department without his wife or without his girlfriend is probably somebody who needs one. You always need your wife or girlfriend, man, with you. When you're picking out your shoes, guys can't pick out their own shoes, and who better to pick out shoes than a woman? So I never pick out shoes without my wife. But you get the gist of it. So it's like, at the end of the day, the way you get promoted and the way people take acknowledgement is when you do good quality work. And when you really work hard and people see it, they notice. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but it could be anytime. You don't realize it, you don't see it, but eventually. And that's really what happened at the Hard Rock. Back in those days, there were all those celebrities coming in, and there was a couple Mets that would come in. And I remember Keith Hernandez pulling me aside and saying, "Brandon, I don't believe how hard you work." I'm like, yeah, I'm in this thing to win it. I'm competing. And, that relationship he was one of the first guys to let me help market him and stuff like that. So you never know when somebody's looking at how it's going to pay advantage down the road. People appreciate people that work hard, people that are in it to win it. They appreciate it. It goes a long way.
So that leads into, we're going to take this last question from Alex. What are the qualities you look for most in an employee? I think you've said it, but we'll wrap on that.
Yeah, I've said it a million times, and and it's not your GPA, but I appreciate somebody doing well at school. As I ran into my son one night, we were in the hallway. It was like 1 a.m. He was studying. He says, "Dad," he was like a junior in high school. He says, "Right now, you can come to my room and help me with my homework. I'm a lot smarter than you." I said, "Son Crosby, you're right. You are smarter than me. I give you a lot of credit. I couldn't go in your room and do that homework, but you've mastered the art of school. It doesn't automatically mean you've mastered the art of life and business in life, because those 4.0 that you got going on, you figured out how to get those A's, and I give you credit. I never got them. But can you put food on the table? Oh, could you not only put food on the table for you, but can you have 50 employees working for you that you have to worry about, make sure they get paid? Can you come up with a product that somebody actually cares about, not only today, tomorrow, but maybe 10 years from now?" So let me know when that happens for you, because then I think you're pretty smart. But right now, you mastered the art of school. And I say to people that are listening, because you mastered the art of school after 12 years, and you've done well, doesn't mean you're coming into the workplace. It doesn't mean shit. It doesn't. I'm sorry. I've said it once, I've said it before. You got to be fat. I look for employees that are fat, faithful, available, teachable. You got to believe in the company, believe in the person you're working for. You got to be flexible. Everybody says they're flexible, but then I start calling them 11 o'clock on a Saturday night to start having like, are you flexible? If you're busy, you're busy. But, and then, you got to be, you got to be teachable. Like, if you think you know everything, I mean, even I work for some big companies, and it's amazing how many of my bosses would call up with ideas, but you got to be teachable. And not all the ideas were good, but some of these are pretty smart people you get to work for over the course of time. I always say the world is your classroom and everyone's a teacher. So being able to be someone who's teachable is such an important aspect, because if you're not growing, where are you going? Either you're ripe, if you're ripe, you're rotten. If you're green, you're growing. You got to stay green.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up on that.
I hope you guys are taking notes on all this, man.
I took a ton, man. I don't know.
That's true. I wish all of you a lot of luck. I hope you pick up the book on Collectible Exchange. I hope I hear from you on social. Hey, if not you, then who? Seriously? Don't be afraid to pick up the phone. You got to have balls. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone ever. Ever. And
See?
start from the top. You know why? I never call anybody other than first from the top. I want to call the CEO, the owner, the president. And you think I'm kidding? My kids would laugh. You called Barack Obama? I said, yeah, I didn't get through, but I tried. But I got to one of his right-hand guys. Like, hey, because that's the point. When you call the top person, 3 things can happen. 1, they pick up the phone and they're happy to talk to you. 2, they send you down below to someone else and they refer you and say, tell them the president sent a call. And 3, they hang up on you. They have no interest. To me, that's a 66.6 chance of something good happening, right? 2 out of the 3 things are good. The guy talks to you. The woman says, I'm interested. The woman says, I'm passing you down. That's 2 out of 3 good things. 1/3 is a bad thing. They're not interested. Click. I don't know. Why start anywhere from the top?
I
But
started.
you got to have balls.
How I got you,
Not
buddy.
you, then who?
If not now, then when? And that's how I got you. So thank you. I can't thank you enough. I think all.
Well, if this was helpful, comment below and let me know what you liked about it. Let me know what you didn't. Let me know if you have a question. I'm going to answer them all.
All the links are here. Thank you, Reese. Thank you, Alec. All the links are here for Brandon's sites and the exchange. You have any questions? We're on Facebook Live, Instagram Live, YouTube Live. Any questions, give us a call. And thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
All right, everybody. Take care.